Hi everyone. So this chapter goes into intimacy and love and introduces a topic that is particularly important. I'm kind of glad that it devotes a chapter into it. It's not a very long chapter, but it's an important chapter because we tend to have very, very weird ideas about what it means for someone to be older and to be in love or to find love or to be engaged in some level of intimacy. It just becomes very bizarre to us, right? And of course, the rules that we tend to think about might shift for people who are older because there's just, a lot of social conditions that means that, more women than men, all these things that really shape how these relationships develop and how they are maintained. It's something to keep in mind as we're looking at this, right? Just to point out, right, there was this show called The Golden Girls, right, that was supposed to represent what it's like for women who are older. And by the way, this is describing women who are in their 40s and 50s who in no way, shape, or form we would consider to be in their golden years, although, I guess that's the eye of the young person who's looking at these age group. One of the things I found, and I'm not showing you this movie in its entirety, this is a horror film, but as you can see on your screen, I was watching over the weekend. I like watching these movies and look for things, and this one popped up, and I immediately said, "Oh, I have to watch this." This is a horror film movie. There's a horror movie on Netflix, obviously called Old People, 2022, and it's a woman who returned home from with her two kids to attend her sister's wedding and must defend their lives against older people on a brutal killing spree. So it's a bunch of old people killing a whole bunch of people, and it's almost like a zombie kind of show, but it's old people who go out. There's actually a lot of stories that go into this where as you get older, you would, go crazy, so young people are in charge of them, right? It's, if you want to think of it, right, the very early on ideas of kids being on their own and having to defend themselves and do for themselves, and young people having to do for themselves is not new, but it's an interesting take on this. So I'm going to show you kind of the introduction, and what you're going to see here is a man who has just murdered his health aide, an old man who's just murdered his health aide. Like, he's shown incredible strength, so it opens up this way. And so I just want to show you the introduction a little bit and show you a little bit of a clip that happens after a point, and give you, and I'm going to go quickly through this to kind of give you a sense as to what's going on. So here we go. I'm going to start it off right here, and it's not very clear, I apologize. The movie is not, it's got a lot of shadows and stuff at the very beginning.
A few weeks before the first people were killed, we talked in school about how our society is aging drastically. Our social system will collapse in the coming years. Intergenerational conflicts will escalate. But looking back now, no one knows what really triggered what happened on those last hot summer days.
So happy family making their way across, right? The wife or the mother with her two kids. Turns out she's divorced, so that's a thing, right? So this is the daughter, and here is the father, who's apparently her ex-husband, and there he lives in the small town as a worker somewhere, and so this is them in their family home. And actually it's interesting because they're having a discussion about how their father is not there anymore.
Why wouldn't he?
Right? And
I hope he's in good enough shape.
that's describing the father who they believe who's in a nursing home, and they're like, oh yeah, he's gotten so old, we have to put him in a nursing home. His health is
His health
declining.
has declined rapidly.
Right, so it sets the stage of the nursing home being like this thing out there, right? And one of the things they say is that the only thing left in this town is old people and the nursing home, right? The next scene is, a scene of young love, which is the daughter who, bumps into the old school kid. And so it's like, oh yeah. So he's like, hey, you want to come out and hang out? And here's her little brother who they're gonna go visit, pick up the grandfather. And she says like, oh no, I'm just gonna, just hang. I got some school work, but obviously she goes out on the ship on a boat with the guy, and it's like this kind of cute romantic kind of thing. And so here is where she's divorced, and find out that there's an awkwardness between the mother and the father. She's portrayed, and forgive me, but she's portrayed as being a woman who was so career focused that she had to leave her husband. She did take her 2 kids with her, but she's career focused, and that's why their family broke up. So that sets the stage, right? And so here they are, right, making their way into, right, the town to go pick up the father in the old folks home, right? And they're showing you, right, how this town is just filled with old people. Old people, old people.
What's with all the people?
What do you mean? They're people.
But only old people.
There's just not much left in the area. Just the retirement home. Nothing else.
Amazing. Remember, there's this kind of notion of how, and there is a lot of truth to this in that in a lot of rural areas, and yes, I think this is a Swedish film, but in a lot of areas, the rural areas are filled with a older population. Now, older is on the high of the beholder as well, right? We're looking at like, there's a lot of 40, 50, 60-year-olds, 70-year-olds, but that's younger people having to leave these areas. Apologize. Younger people having to leave these areas is constant. So there's the senior. See how old, decrepit. See how abandoned. You see the wood on the sides here, so it looks like uncut grass. No one's maintaining. No one's taking care of the old people. It's dirty. It's messy. Look at the floors. Like, oh, what the heck,
Don't we have to check in somewhere?
Right, so they go through, right, and they're showing these images of, like, the older folks just kind of sitting around and not doing anything, and just, right, just keep skipping. Here's a worker who's there, like, dealing with one of the patients, right?
Kim, are you busy?
Not at all. I thought you'd come here. You want to see Ike, right?
I want Grandpa to come to the wedding.
I bet he'd like that. There hasn't been a party around here for a long time. Ella? Nice to see you.
Alright, if you see some tension between them, is that because this is the current girlfriend or wife? I'm not sure yet. I haven't watched it to the end of her ex-husband, and so that's the tension that you're seeing there. Just to give you a sense.
Hello, Kim.
Okay, then.
And then he begins to explore,
Grandpa.
right? This is the notion and sometimes the view we have of...
The old people, are they always like this?
Well, we're totally understaffed, and there are more and more of them that we really can't take care of. Everyone stands by, lets it happen. It all just gets worse.
Tied down.
Restrained. Yeah. We have to, or else they'll run away. Fall down or get hurt. I know how it sounds, but what can we do? There are far too few of us. Some of them lie in their own crap for hours. I wish I could change that.
Yes, it gets a little creepy here. Old man standing on things like, are you my grandpa? This seems kind of weird. Yeah.
Noah? Sweetheart, so you found Grandpa. Hello, Dad. It's me, Ella. How are you? Why are they all looking at me?
These days, they rarely see visitors. Most of them get a visit from their children or grandchildren every couple of years. If ever. I'm sorry, it is different with you.
No, it's not. I should have come long ago. Dad.
Right there is a display of intimacy. Like, obviously, this gentleman has not had any sort of level of intimacy, so his feeling, the physical feeling, is bringing him to tears. The movie goes on for a little bit about what's happening here and there, but I'm going to take you to. So, there's a party taking place, right, because of the wedding. And go back to the old folks home, right? The nursing home. And see all the old people listening to the music intently.
Oh my God.
Hello? Is anyone there?
So, why are y'all sitting here together? You're listening to the music. Do you like it?
Hello?
You want to get all dolled up in front of the mirror, huh? Put on some nice clothes and join the others at the party? Well, too bad you're not invited. Besides, it's time for bed.
So I use the term old folk home there just because it kind of like, I want you to feel the sense that they're creating, right? It's not just a nursing home. It's not, because they're not nursing anybody. They are literally just housing people who are older in these places, right? And of course, at that point, we find out that one of the nursing home patients is chewing their way through an electric line. I don't know why, they just are. And so they electrocute themselves, and the orderly upstairs is sitting there going, "Everybody get to bed," right? The light goes out, and of course, they murder him. So he gets, he might be like sounding this cruel kind of person, but he gets what he deserves for being such a jerk and telling them that, hey, this isn't for you, go to bed, right? Your music, what music, right? There's this kind of notion in this film. Now, again, this is a film that exaggerates the idea of how we treat people who are older, but not by much, right? If you get little hints of a story of things that are very familiar and things that do worry people, right? Intergenerational conflict, right? The idea of, you know, older people who are seen as not providing a function to society, as housing them in these locations where they have no resources, no one is taking care of them, there is nothing for them to do except sit and lay down until eventually they pass on, right? So these are the notions that we think about. The question is, right, for you as you're looking at this chapter is, you know, how does love and intimacy and these things affect, you know, aging, right? When you're older, what does it mean? How does it develop? How does it continue? How does it, you know, how do we think about it in a way that doesn't sound surprising or shocking, right? When two older people meet and they wish to, for example, get married, you know, what is the way that we think about that? Is it celebrated in the same way that we celebrate when young people get married, right? Or is that seen as, you know, a kind of tainted love, right? Because they probably have loved someone before, and therefore this love is more, you know, a second or third or fourth love, while the other person, the young person, this might be their first or, you know, early loves, right? So there are just questions about these things and how this affects us psychologically as well as we age, right? Because the idea is to keep in mind, right, what I'm hoping you're doing in this class, and I think a lot of you are doing it, is kind of thinking about not just of it as a society, not just of it as psychologically, not just of it as physical or health-wise, or biologically, but also thinking about it from our own perspective, like how we would like to think about the aging process and our own aging process, right? Because that helps us to create empathy and for the process of aging, which is something that in our society we tend to ignore until we get to that point. All right, so I hope this has been useful. I know it's a little bit longer. If you want to watch the movies on Netflix, again, it's a horror film, so it's built almost like a zombie. I have not seen like too many like gory things, so it's not like a crazy gory film, but it is a horror movie. And again, the purpose was not to show you, but to show you how the depiction of older people exist, and how familiar this depiction is, not just, you know, again, this is a foreign movie, so not just outside of the United States, but you can kind of get the sense of how it fits within the United States as well. So take care, everybody.